Kathy, let's talk now about executive function. You can tell me a little bit what that is in kind of the average person, there's a range, and then how it's problematic for people with Tourette, or students in particular, and how that can impact them in school.
Okay. Executive functioning is very, very, very common amongst us all.
Mhm.
But for kids with Tourette, especially people that are of above average intelligence, seem to have more difficulties with executive functioning. I think that's why they call it executive, because I think there's a lot of CEOs that depend on their executive assistant to help them stay organized.
Okay.
So executive function is um, ADD on steroids. It's not being organized. You don't have organized with your time, with your materials, with what you're doing. Starting an assignment can oftentimes be very difficult for these kids, and finishing the assignment can also be difficult. They might get distracted, and so not be able to finish it, and they may actually forget what the assignment is halfway through,
Mhm.
and so they don't. There's a famous educator who calls executive functioning difficulty making a product. So it's starting, it's getting through it, and it's ending it. So again, it's sort of attention deficit on steroids. What can be helpful is to have a person, usually it's a consultant teacher or a special ed teacher,
Mhm.
that can help the student develop executive skills, but it has to be individualized. So a lot of schools will say, okay, all you have to do, you have executive functioning, so all you have to do is have the same color book covers as notebook covers.
Mhm.
So your geography is blue, your math is purple. But that wouldn't work for a lot of people. What my son needed to do, if he has, he in the morning he'll make a list, and he'll write it on the post-it notes,
Mhm.
and he'll put the post-it notes on his desk. And as he finishes an assignment, he'll get rid of that post-it note.
Mhm.
So that's how he manages his executive functioning.
That sounds very satisfying to complete a task and toss away the little task reminder. I like that. He's older now. When he was younger in school, was he resistant to keeping lists? Because I feel like we all know students should write down assignments and then maybe go home, and in the case of Trip, maybe check in with mom or dad and say, this is what I have to do. But they're so resistant to it. Um, was
Yeah,
he able to do that, or did it end up being you kind of speaking directly or emailing directly with the teacher in a lot of cases?
yeah, it was more me helping him be organized, because he's so bright
Mhm.
that he would think, I can remember that. I don't have to write that down. And then he'd get home and have no clue what he was supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times it was up to me to check in with the teachers, maybe weekly, to know when an assignment is due. So kids with executive function are famous for getting an assignment in March and it being due in May. But the night before it's due, they'll tell their parents, "Oh, I have this thing that is due tomorrow," and it's a 20-page research paper. So that's
So,
pretty common.
and that's classic procrastination, which many, many students do suffer from. I wonder
Mhm.
if, so one thing that helps, because I also procrastinate, one thing that helps me is to have whatever it is I have to do, you put it somewhere very public. So every time maybe you walk past the refrigerator, you see the thing and the due date. And
Mhm.
then everyone in the family can see it and kind of keep an eye on it. The other thing I would consider, and again, it may not work for everyone, but for people whose minds wander, and I'm one of those people, when I have an assignment that I need to write about, I keep that question or thesis or whatever it is right at the top of the page, sort of like your son with the sticky note. You just always have it right out there on the page that you're actually writing on, or on the computer as you're typing, so you keep
Mhm.
referring back to it.
Yeah, yeah, that can be helpful. Lists can be helpful.
Yeah.
People reminding them, but not too much, because then
Mhm.
they're going to get annoyed. But having an agreement with my son that, okay, on Tuesday, we're going to talk about what you need to do this week.
Yeah, I like that idea of a weekly check-in, and then you know it's going to happen every week, same time. And I guess you could then also double check in with the teacher after that. I like this idea of regularity. Do you think that that's something important to kind of supplementing a student's learning, is sort of having regularity?
Yeah, I think so. And also somebody, a lot of times kids with executive functioning need somebody to help them get started.
Yeah.
Um, and then to complete it. Okay, you started this, you're almost done. So, what's your what do you want to write? What did you want to finish with? That can be helpful too. But it's hard to find. I mean, teachers don't have that much time to help every student like that.
So again, that's something the parents need to pick up, or possibly another sibling.
Yeah, or somebody helping the student develop executive skills, like my son writing down the Post-it notes for what he needed to do.
Exactly.